exactly who I am. Now, say my name.
We must pay homage to him.
All right, folks, we're back with a semi-emergency edition of the Red and White Podcast. The depth chart came out. I'm your host, Evan, here with Will. Will, did you look at the depth chart? Is this an emergency?
Yes, sure. I mean, we didn't have like the emergency blaring sirens. That's the one thing we need to work on.
Yeah, our sound engineer needs to get that together.
I gave him an extra hour to figure it out, you know?
Good point. I was trying to watch J-Sam. They weren't giving him the ball. Shocker.
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
No,
Is that game interesting at all?
Not really. Defensive game. It's all right. Daniel Jones is the quarterback.
Is Big Ben washed? Is this it?
He's fine. The Steelers' defense is what's the important part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about the NC State depth chart. It's game week, finally. We'll have a regular podcast later in the week at some point. But this time we just want to talk about the depth chart. So, right off the bat, what stands out to you the most?
Well, I feel vindicated. I don't know if it's just a sign of them being nice to Ricky Person, but to at least see his name first in the chart.
See? Ricky's an or. It's an or. We don't know who's going to start.
I assume that's, I wish we had kind of tracked that last year because I feel like last year we started to see a lot more of these ors popping up.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting to see if the first person listed actually started. I assume they're going to give him the first crack at it and then let Zonovan loose. I think the offensive line probably caught me off guard.
Yeah, so the running backs, all three of them the first three of them are all, I guess all of them are ors, right? Jordan Houston or Trent Penix. Yeah, so they're all ors. So I guess that's good. I guess that's good for Person, considering how good Knight was last year. So if Person is at top of those ors, that must mean he's healthy and looking all right, right? I mean, that's got to be a good sign.
Yeah, it's funny because the way I first read it was Ricky Person or Zonovan and then Jordan or Trent. But you're right. Every single person is theoretically a starter here, even Trent.
Yeah. Which
means opening play is going to be a trick pass play for Trent Penix, right?
Yeah, that's probably right. All right. That's probably true. The offensive line. All right. So the offensive line, I think, is probably the one that has gotten the most comments. We asked people beforehand, what are your comments on it? And the reason being is because Ickey got moved to, I'm going to say, theoretically, your best offensive lineman, even though he was a true freshman last year, or you say arguably your best offensive lineman, got moved inside to left guard. Now, listening to Doran's press conference this afternoon, he said it's basically to get our five best offensive linemen on the field. And Ickey played guard in high school. And so now you're getting, to me, I don't think that says anything about Ickey. It says that Tyrone Riley is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And he's probably healthy. And, I think that's probably a good sign for the left side of the line there, right?
Yeah, I mean, my first instinct was I didn't think anything nefarious of it. I thought get the best five on there. And that basically means that when they were having the tackle battle between Witt and Riley, they must have liked what they've seen. And this was the best way to get Ickey, Witt, Riley all on the line at the same time. I thought the bigger surprise was that McKay was listed as the backup at left tackle. I don't know why I thought he was going to be more of a guard. Probably just maybe he was slotted there a little bit last year. I would say if anything happens to Riley or Witt, I assume if Witt goes down, I assume Riley will actually probably be the one that moves over to right tackle. Then you'll see Ickey kick out. That's just my guess. But I don't know. I don't know who Liam Ryan is. I'm assuming he's a walk-on. So props to him for being second at center right now. He must be doing pretty well. But yeah, I mean, Derek Eason, I heard good things about him too. So maybe this means that he really came on and they feel comfortable with him behind Whit. I don't know. I guess I like what I see, but I also get nervous when I see McKay, McMahon, Lane, and Eason, as all the backups. I still think we're pretty thin. I've always thought we were going to be thin on O-line this year. So.
To the Wi-Fi network. Please wait.
So we got. Are we actually online, or is that your Wi-Fi?
That's something else. Yeah. Weird.
Setup was successful.
My devices are talking to me live on the podcast.
That sounds like the camera we installed this weekend. So I don't know what that is.
Ooh, creepy.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Liam Ryan, I'm going to guess. I thought all along that McMahon was being groomed for center.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing if Gibson goes down, McMahon slides in there. That would be my guess. I don't know. I think that's interesting. I'm not sure what to think there, but Tim McKay was one that another one that Doran called out during the press conference. He didn't say a whole lot of names, but he definitely mentioned McKay. I don't know. I guess I'm like you. I feel good about the 5 you have, but if somebody goes down, there's a lot of unproven guys behind them.
Well, I guess, worst case scenario, you can plug Dylan Ottenreath in at guard like they like Syracuse had to do this weekend.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later. I have my thoughts on that game. I guess we probably also should have mentioned if, just jumping around here, right? We're looking at the depth chart, just jumping around. Linebacker Louis Seuss is done. His career's over. Doran said during his press conference that it was medical related. It wasn't COVID related. It's just something that he was dealing with. How do you think that impacts the linebackers?
Well, I mean, I think it's a pretty big hit personally. I was looking at the play chart last year. He was one of our leading tacklers, I think, going into the Clemson game where he got injured. So it says here he was responsible for about 17% of the snaps at linebacker last year. So I think it's a big loss. He's a senior. I think he was going to be counted on. And I thought he added a dynamic with his pass rushing ability. So I guess the one thing you can say is, okay, well, it's at the deepest spot on the team. But to me, I think he might have been the only senior that would have been starting on defense.
Right.
So I think it's a hit. I think people are going to overlook it because they're excited about Peyton Wilson or, any of these other guys. But I was hoping that unit was going to be fresh and be able to rotate just constantly. So this is just one more hit. And I'm curious to see how it plays out throughout the season. I just expect because of, the way the offseason was and football in general, that there'd be a lot of injuries. I feel like some key players of my fantasy teams this weekend all got season-long injuries after one game. So I am nervous just about general attrition for the team. That's why I kind of keep hitting that with O-line. And, this is the deepest spot, but we already just saw one hit.
Yeah, I think the surprising one to me, and I'm not sure if it should be surprising, looking at the rest of the linebackers, Drake Thomas and Vi Jones, they have an or.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. I mean, I guess that's Seuss's spot, but I don't know. Drake Thomas or Vi Jones, who do you think gets that start?
I think it's probably going to be Drake to start the year. I feel like that. And then it's going to probably go to Vi Jones. I mean, if he's as athletic as everyone says. Now, that could also be a factor too. I'm trying to get back down to the linebacker part of the chart. But I wonder if it, there was some scuttlebutt that they may try to get Vi Jones and Peyton Wilson on the field at the same time. So, maybe they just slotted him over there as an opportunity to get him and let Isaiah Moore hold the middle. So maybe you'll see Drake in there for obvious running downs, and maybe you'll see Vi Jones working in obvious passing situations.
Yeah, I always thought Drake was more suited for a middle linebacker, but yeah, what do I know? That was the position I thought I had him in. But
Well,
he isn't.
It's because he's so stocky looking.
Yeah,
You know?
he's not very big. That's the thing with Drake is watch him last year, right? And he's not the fastest guy. He's not very big. They have him at 6 foot, 236, which might be generous.
Didn't you see him at the at a restaurant?
I saw, well, yes, but the one that stood out was Peyton Wilson. He looked huge. He's 6'4", 240, but he looked like 6'7". I don't know why he just looked like a monster. But Drake Thomas, like, he just seems to be a little bit undersized, a little bit slower, but always in the right spot. I think that's his value, right? His brains. So I'm curious how that plays out with the more traditional, more athletic Vi Jones, more experienced Vi Jones versus Drake there.
Well,
It's interesting.
And there was a lot of chatter too this offseason. I can't remember if it was, I don't know if Doran mentioned it or not, but I heard that they were trying to get the linebackers to be a little bit bigger too. So maybe that's why he's starting, because they're really there for run support.
Yeah, could be. That, and I think it's where he excels too. You don't want him out in space covering somebody, I don't think.
I'm looking here. I mean, I threw you the layup earlier and you missed it. How about Dylan Ottenreath in his new position?
Yeah, I was going to let you make that joke.
No, come on. What the F is that?
Yeah. What is the F position? What is the F position? I have no idea. Doran just said, what did he say during the press conference? He said it's...
Did he call it a flanker? I saw someone say it might be something like that, not fullback.
No, not fullback. What? H-back? All right, what do they call him? J-Sam, the H-back?
Yeah, it just says... This is a note from another website, from the Wolfpacker in the summary. It says, Y tight end is more of an inline player, and the F is lined up a lot of places.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to line up Ottenreath out wide?
Well, that's what I was trying to understand. When you say inline, I was like, is that really where you want Angeline? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, they might have that backwards. But then you have Parham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that you would think Parham would be wherever Angeline is, or that kind of play.
Because Parham is not a blocker, but maybe, I mean, I guess that's one of the things I'm going to be watching because I'm a big tight end guy, based on the last podcast. I just thought that was just curious to me. So I thought for a second that it was really going to be more one tight end sets this year, but
right.
I guess we've been proven wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. The one that stands out to me now that I just the thought I had while I'm looking at this is that's a bunch of seniors at that position.
Mm-hmm. You have to think Brad is going to be there for the 6th year, though, right?
Yeah, I guess you would think. He would think probably Parham too. Yeah, I guess if they all get an extra year this year, I think that's. But I mean, that's 4 out of 5 there. Seniors or grad seniors. What do they call them? Grad students.
I guess, yeah.
Cam Walker's the only other one on that depth chart as a freshman.
Yeah, so I wonder if they're trying to get Dylan some Parham some run, some burn at the F, and then if Angeline goes pro and Ottenreath stays, then you can flex Parham out there, and maybe he's a little bit more multiple. I don't know. It's just weird for a former quarterback to be matching up with the blocking, and I would have thought that was where Cameron Walker and Rukio would be, personally. So
yeah, agreed.
Maybe they're trying to just throw Wake Forest off, though.
Suck on this, Clausen. Makes sense in this depth chart. Yeah.
Porter Rook's a slot? We didn't recruit him to be that.
All right, so yeah, we'll jump over to the wide receivers. Amezi or Provolone. How do you pronounce that guy's name?
I mean, we gotta call him Provolone now. You've doomed him.
Somebody called him Provolone. I think James Henderson called him Provolones, and that's where I got it from.
Yeah, I would have thought Provolone. Here,
Provilion.
I'll go to GoPack, and I'll read the pronunciation to everybody.
Okay. This is real good audio here, folks.
I mean, at least it's going to be audio. It's like, you know how some podcasts will be like describing something happened in person, and you're like, it's audio medium, guys. Let's see here. All right, Josiah, and okay, Provolone.
Yeah, all right. Close.
Provolone.
Close enough. He's an or. I think that was maybe a bit surprising to me that he was the or with Emeka there.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I remember Max was now was he the one that made the touchdown? Had the touchdown in the BC game? That's what it was, or not the touchdown, but he had that really long catch in the Boston College game. So I guess he did flash a little bit.
Yeah, Max Fisher had one catch at some point this year. I don't remember when it was, or last year. And he's listed as the third. I don't know, the wide receiver, if just looking at the wide receivers across the board is kind of a strange depth chart. Devin Carter or CJ Riley. Devin Carter's listed over CJ Riley, which is probably a good thing. I'm guessing CJ Riley, they're going to work him back slowly. And then, my guy, Keon Lassane, listed third on the what is that? The X receiver? No, I meant the X, the Y receiver. I thought he'd be a slot guy.
Well, he was a slot last year.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He never looked comfortable there last season. So maybe it was too much for him to handle. Or this chart is just blowing my mind. I almost feel like this is like the COVID depth chart where they're like, see, we're going to put everyone in their other position. Because I would never have thought Porter Rooks would be slotted behind Thayer. I guess I thought he was going to be more like Emeka.
Well, yeah, so Porter Rooks is an or too. So Thayer is either one of them can start. We assume it's going to be Thayer, but they're both listed as the ors there. I think that's kind of surprising too, given he's a true freshman and Thayer's returning. But the fact that he's in a slot, I think that just means they want to get him on the field.
Well, do you think these are like based on like packages? I wonder if they're going to be grouping these wide receivers or like Porter, CJ, Provolone. I cannot say this. So Provolone is the part is the cheese in the sandwich here. But I cannot wait for it to be Saturday. First off, because I've got to see this in action.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, it could be packages. Emezi, Carter, Thayer. I can't even say it. Cheeseman, Riley, Rooks. I mean, I could see those three being I could see those being grouped, right? Speed guy, slot guy, bigger guy.
I mean, the second he drops a ball, we're going to call him Swiss cheese instead of provolone. I hope this guy's awesome. I hope we have to deal with this for years.
Just call him the cheese man. Yeah, yeah.
Bring home that cheddar.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised about that, though. Glad to see Rooks there. I'm curious how they're going to use him, having him listed in the slot. I think that was interesting. I think Riley is probably just not ready. He's probably not back. His body's probably not in shape. If you watched him on the one with the Wolfpack, he wasn't ripped like the rest of the guys. You could tell he's been hurt and been dealing with some things.
Yeah, I
guess. I
would think you're hoping to kind of get him going slowly, let him work some of that weight off. I thought he looked heavier, but he could also, maybe he's just, when you can't run as much. I've never had an ACL injury, but maybe he just hit the upper body weights a lot, and maybe he just looks thicker because of that.
That's true. I thought Carter and Leary really had a good connection last year, so there might be something to that, right? If you get a guy you're on the same page with, it could be why he's listed there. But Devin Carter, I thought he played well last year. I had no real complaints.
Yeah, he was a redshirt freshman last year, right?
Now, who is Michael Fox listed as the third in the slot?
I'm looking right now because this guy, I did not even see him on the depth chart all these years. He's from Dr. Phillips, Orlando, Florida. Dr. Phillips is a
It's Engel School, yeah.
yeah. His bio is empty. So I thought for the minute that it was like a code name for Chris Scott, my super pick of the year. I was like, oh, they're trying to sneak him in. I don't know. I saw someone say on the board that he's kind of shifty. So that's the classic slot term.
Oh.
But redshirt sophomore. So my theory is that some of the freshmen probably got hit with the COVID quarantine and are out for a little bit, and maybe that explains why you don't see Chris Scott or Crabtree or who's
Smith, right?
Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
Because I just I feel like you don't hear the buzz like you did about Scott about how fast he was for multiple players if he's not going to be somewhere sniffing around the depth chart. So I wonder if that's why some of these are kind of shifted the way they are as well.
Yeah, it's curious to see. Michael Fox, I did look up his story. He bounced around Central Arkansas, then to Mississippi Community College, and walked on at State this year. So he's a new guy. He's close with Tanner Engel. They went to the same high school. They've been friends for a long time. I was just kind of surprised to see him on the depth chart there. Yeah, like you, I thought it'd be Chris Scott or one of these other guys that probably won't get much run if he gets in the game. It's going to be like, hey, you go over there and run deep. Like, you run that way.
Well, if Michael Fox is in the game, we are either up 10 scores or something terrible has happened at the slot receiver, probably. But who knows? I mean, he could also just be sneaky good. Could be another Thayer, right? There was a walk-on.
Yeah, that's true. Just three of them on that chart with Max Fisher, Thayer, and Michael Fox. So that's interesting to me.
I'm looking at we keep talking about Tanner Engel. So were you surprised to see him listed as the kick returner?
No, I think he returned like 20% of the kicks last year. He's one of the fastest guys on the team. He is effing fearless. So that's what you want in a kick returner. You want a guy who's fast as hell, who's just going to run through people, and that's what he wants to do. So I'm not surprised at all to see him back there. I think people are surprised because he's a safety, but he's fast as hell.
Are you more surprised to see who his backup is?
Yeah, so Ricky Person being the backup is, I'm guessing you're never going to see that guy back there, but that's a strange one to me. He's, I don't know what the word is, fragile, right? Put him in that.
He's been unlucky with injury.
Okay, that's better.
I don't want to say fragile because he's 215. And at least the Florida State injury, I mean, that was a legit injury. I don't think anyone's ankle was surviving that. Yeah,
fair. Surprised to see him back there, right? You don't think of him as a kick returner type. You think those fast, shifty guys or just straight up burners. You don't think of Ricky Person as that. I guess your job is to catch the ball.
Yes.
I don't know. That one was more surprising than Engel. I think I would expected to see maybe one of the younger fast guys back there.
I guess I would have expected Jordan Houston instead of Ricky Person if we were going to just go with random guys. I think you give them a little bit of space and they can get some work done. But again, I guess it goes back to one. I don't know how often do you even see the backup kick returner? Because I don't think this is a situation where it's right and left, kind of thing. But it could also speak to, if Person's having a really good camp and he's got that explosiveness back that made him such a high commodity, or not high commodity, but a highly desirable prospect. Maybe they're just thinking, hey, we got to get the ball in this guy's hand, and if he's healthy or if Tanner isn't getting it done, throw him in there.
Yeah, I that's probably the case. It's strange. It is a little strange. I don't know. I wasn't expecting to see it, but I also wasn't expecting to see Matt Days taking kick returns, and that's what he did. So, same thing. He wasn't necessarily a burner, but I guess reliable guy with vision is what you want back there. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say this because I just noticed it, but we do have a apparently 6'2", 108-pound kicker on the roster, Nolan Paris. That's got to be a typo.
Wow,
That's gotta
be a typo.
There's no way.
Poop bigger than that. That's insane. 6'2", 108.
50 pounds of it are in his legs. You know.
Good Lord, that's got to be a typo. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, hopefully we don't see that guy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope Chris Dunn is just nailing it. Did they have kickoffs listed?
No.
Okay. I was wondering if they would have Gill listed for kickoff or not, but
I think Dunn did it last year, right?
I don't think so. I think it was Gill. I think Gill's always had like a super long leg, and I think one of the dads, I don't know if it was Davey or if it was Dunn's dad, but someone was talking about Gill and just how in high school he was constantly, kicking him out of the end zones. And so one thing they thought he would be good at, and it was surprising how good of a punter he turned into. So,
yeah, I'm not gonna lie, he was awesome last year, and he was like the big question mark after AJ Cole left. Who's gonna punt? Who's gonna kick off? And then, Gill came in and was just phenomenal.
I mean, I'm upset that he got rid of our Aussie kicker, though.
Yeah, where'd that guy go? He went. I don't remember where he went.
I don't know. He's probably at Coastal Carolina with Gunter.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that one later too. Coastal Carolina beat Kansas.
I know, and I was curious if Gunter had any impact in the game.
Yeah, we'll bring that up later in the week because I was curious too. I googled the box score recently. But that leads us into the defensive line. I think there's another one that people are, I don't know, questioning or curious about, maybe is a better way to say it. Going from left to right, Daniel Joseph or Terrell Dawkins is the starter. Daniel Joseph is the transfer from Penn State. And then Dawkins is the highly recruited redshirt freshman. Be interesting to see who gets those snaps there. I'm guessing Joseph starts, but Dawkins gets the bulk of them, with potential being the key there.
Are you? I'm a little surprised that Val Martin is third.
Well, he's moved, right? Wasn't he a tackle, and now he's over at the left defensive end? So I'm not super surprised there.
I wonder if he's just, again, I just wonder if it's going to be situational. I'm so curious to see if this is actually what our depth chart looks like every week, or if this is just a week specific. We want to have certain guys out there that are probably in better shape on defense. Maybe it could be something like that. Maybe it's a conditioning thing. I don't know.
Which leads us into our next, the nose tackle, Lim McNeil. No surprise. But behind him, C.J. Clark, Davin Van, Josh Harris. Your boy Josh Harris listed fourth on the depth chart there.
Give him time.
It's kind of surprising, and this is why I think it's surprising, because he's huge, right? We talked about this last time. He's one that everybody said is college ready in high school. Like, he was strong enough and big enough. So he's been here 2 years, and Davin Van has been here not so long, and he's listed ahead of him. It's interesting to me. I'm curious to see how that shakes out. And I know Harris is still young, but I think everybody had maybe higher hopes there, higher expectations.
I would just say maybe I'm just getting this wrong, but I was pretty positive that he had a foot injury last year or some injury, right? So I think that derailed him a little bit.
That's true.
And he basically played 4 games. So I think he got if I remember correctly, I thought he got an injury in fall camp. Then he came in and got to play a few snaps in the stretch from Syracuse to Clemson, I think. I may have it wrong. I'm trying to read this chart while we're talking. Am I disappointed? Yeah, because I just really thought he was going to be a guy that we're going to build around. But at the same time, he shouldn't be he wouldn't be displacing Aleem at this point. And we got to also remember he was recruited when we were a 4-man front, wasn't he? So,
Right.
it could also be kind of getting shaken out there where, you just have to jam all these huge mammoths together. So, Devin Van is supposed to be a freak, though.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not surprised. I had heard that he might be closer to college ready, and he's a wrestler. He's just someone you think just might be physical and ready to go. So I'm happy to see CJ Clark there in second. But I mean, just look at that. I guess what gives me concern is junior and then 3 freshmen.
Yes.
Freshman D tackles are not normal unless you're like Dexter Lawrence.
At least they're redshirt freshmen, so they've been in here a little bit longer. But that is 1,200 pounds of man.
Oh, my God.
That's a big bunch of nose tackles.
That's got to be your goal line formation.
Right? Somebody pointed this out to me, and it's kind of surprising here, but of all the positions on this depth chart, nose tackle, Aleem McNeil, 4-star, CJ Clark, 4-star, Davin Van, 4-star, Josh Harris, 4-star. This is the only position on depth chart that's got that much talent.
Mm-hmm.
If you count star ratings as talent, that much talent in one position, I think that's insane. Yeah, I think that's wild.
Can any of them play quarterback? That's all that matters, all right?
Right? Yeah. Or block. Keep him upright. And then the other defensive end, Ibrahim Conte and Savion Jackson, then Nick Booker Brown is backing them up. Conte's, we expect to get the start. Savion, highly regarded defensive end, should probably get a lot of run. I'm guessing this rotation is going to be crazy. It's going to be a lot of rotations going on here.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I'm hoping, I know it sounds crazy, but I hope Doran, I'm going to talk about this later in the week, but I hope he's a little more aggressive with his timeouts maybe early on in this game, just in case the Wake offense gets rolling, because they're that just high tempo team. And I don't want to see us give up a cheap score just because our guys are gassed in their first game against a high tempo team, right? I guess I'm just a little nervous about that. And I would say for Nick Booker Brown, for anyone that was watching any of the highlights coming out of camp, he's the one that put a questionable spin move on Tim McKay, and the defense let McKay know about it. To me, it looked like McKay slipped and also got like an elbow chop in the back of the head. But, I like his energy, and I think someone said he's had a good camp.
Yeah, another freshman. Defense, man, super young. I mean, there's super young, right? Assuming you lose McNeil, but after that, everybody on that front side, the front 7, front 6, 3-3-5 is back. Isn't that wild? That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting too. Daniel Joseph, I don't know what his aspirations are, but do you luck into getting a grad senior for an extra year? Does he stick around past COVID? Same thing. I mean, I'm not worried about Conte going anywhere, but it's going to be interesting to see how they manage the roster going forward, right? There's a lot of young guys, and if any of these older guys stick on another year, it could cause a uncomfortable logjam for some people.
So a weird problem we're not used to having, I guess.
Yeah. This is what it's like to be a UNC basketball team.
They keep all their guys. They somehow, I don't know how, but anyway, not going down that road yet. Nickel.
You keep saying out.
I have some thoughts about Carolina, but I'm not gonna do it yet. I'll save them for later in the week. Nickel position: Tyler Baker-Williams, Josh Pierre-Louis, and Tayon Palmer. Tyler Baker-Williams, by all accounts, has been the best player on defense in practice. Yeah, we talked about him last week. He's a great athlete. They've tried him all over the place, like to fill in gaps when needed. So no surprise there. What makes me happy about that, what makes me excited about that position is finally you have somebody who can probably cover a slot receiver. I mean, we just seem to always get burned by a nickel covering a slot. it was just always a thing. Travius Wright, who I forgot who was splitting time with Stephen Griffin last year, but none of them covered the slot well over the last 5 years. And Tyler Baker Williams has the potential to do that. I think he's probably one of the highest graded. You look at Pro Football Focus, one of the highest graded defensive players we have. I think he was all ACC in that regard.
I think what's interesting, or at least for me, is Tayyon Palmer was at third. He's coming back from injury, so the fact that he's even on the depth chart somewhere is a good sign. You don't see Chris Ingram on here, which to me is, it's not unexpected just based on the progress we've been hearing as he's been coming along. I feel really good about the secondary. If Palmer and Ingram are healthy, it just will give you more depth because those guys, Palmer wasn't supposed to be a nickel. He was supposed to be a shut, like a lockdown man corner. So it's interesting if he's going to stick at nickel. If he is, I would think he would move above Pierre Lewis as soon as he's ready.
Yeah. Let's see. I think Palmer is probably, if I'm remembering correctly, Palmer was one of the highest graded or highest rated prospects out of high school on this defense, and definitely one of the highest rated in the secondary. He was easily a 4-star. Georgia, I think.
Yeah.
He's up there, or he's got a world of talent. So, yeah, seeing him at the nickel, I like what they're doing with that nickel position. Right, these are cover guys. Josh Pierre-Louis, another cover guy. I like that.
If you think about it, Wake Forest has burned us with slot receivers so many times. So, God, I hope this is the one position you can just not have to worry about.
Now, the position everybody is worried about, corner.
Never heard of it.
We don't need him. Just sack him every play. We don't have to worry about it. There's a lot of talent here, corner, man. There's some guys. I feel like the talent has been upgraded across the board. Tayshaun Smith or Cecil Powell, and then inside is Shy Battle or Malik Dunlap. I think both of those are kind of surprising to me. Tayshaun Smith over Cecil Powell. I thought Cecil Powell would get the nod there, but I don't know.
There's two ways to look at it, right? Either the cornerbacks are battling like crazy, or they're all basically number twos, or at least one of them is supposed to be a number two, and Ingram would, in theory, unseat one of them. But you got to like the, Shaheem and Malik and Tayshaun have really good length, right? They're your
yeah.
Those are kind of guys that we recruited to try to take on Clemson, and we started getting away from them. We started going shorter again, and now I don't know if we're coming back or what. Cecil Powell's just a crazy athlete, so I wonder what the timeshare split's going to be between them. I wonder, are they a lot of these orders at the top of the chart are the older guys, not for Shaheem and Malik, but Tayshaun's a junior versus a sophomore. Mm-hmm. Daniel Joseph is a grad. Conte is a junior, right? You can go through it. So I wonder if they're giving the veterans a little bit of a boost right now, and then maybe as the season progresses, these competitions are going to play out.
Yeah, Shy Battle, I think, is an interesting one, right? Highly rated corner. I thought he was a redshirt, but let's see. Did he redshirt last year?
I'll take a look at the chart.
Yeah, I think he's redshirt. I think this is a mistake.
Yeah, he only played 3 games last year.
Yeah, so he's a redshirt. He's a redshirt freshman, but he's a true corner, right? He's that cover guy that he's always been a corner. He's not like one of the other guys that has played wide receiver or been moved around, just does everything for your team. He's always been a corner, and that's his position. He knows the position well. If he can control that side, and I said this before, I don't think Ingram is that good. He's the most experienced, certainly, but I'm looking for one of these other guys who are better, maybe more talented, to close that gap on that, that experience gap quicker. And, Shy Battle is the one that I think that can do this. And I think it's really going to be interesting to watch these guys. I mean, the concern for me is that every year we say, hey, secondary's young. Well, shit, secondary's young again. Like, how does this keep happening? But at least now they're young and they have some serious experience there. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Serious upside, maybe, is probably the better way to say that.
So, I don't know. I'm surprised you feel that way about Ingram because, he was like a 6-game starter last year. I think he was like probably the only one on our team that was actually intercepting the ball last year. He had 2 before he went out with his injury. And he's a senior. I would just feel a lot better with him back there. Of course, he's like coming back from a knee injury, so there's always a little bit of a dice roll. Though it's better now than it used to be. I just think I'd feel better. I'm assuming the spot he would be in would be the Battle Dunlap group. I think you're comfortable with Tayshaun and Cecil. I think Tayshaun he had some snaps last year before he got injured. He played basically the first 5 games of the season. And Cecil Powell was playing on the back quarter or so. So maybe that group you're a little bit more comfortable with. I guess you just, like we were saying earlier, Cheyenne Battle was basically playing special teams last year. And let's see, who's his backup? Who's he fighting with? Malik. Dunlap, yeah. Who did play a lot of snaps towards the end. I don't know. The one benefit of last year's shit show is everyone played.
Yeah.
So you got an idea, right? And just like, from first game to second game is the most improvement. I'm sure first year thrown into the fire to the second year, these guys aren't going to be shocked. And a good chunk of them, I think, played the Wake Forest game. So I guess there's some benefits to it. I don't know.
Yeah. I doesn't pass my eye test. Ingram doesn't pass my eye test. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I could be way off there, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say that the upside is better with with Battle or one of these other guys.
You just like the new shiny toy.
I do. New is always better.
Just give me that trusted Impala back there.
I don't know. Like, I never saw Ingram as a lockdown corner, not lockdown potential. I could be wrong, but I guess McLeod got all the attention.
It's hard because McLeod was celebrating so much.
Yeah.
And I say that as someone who really liked Nick McLeod, and trust me, I think when you lose a guy and he's a starting corner now at Notre Dame, you could have definitely used him this year. So
yeah, McLeod was fine. We've talked about this before.
He was fine.
He's a good player. He's not great. He's good, but he's not great.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think this year you just need good back there, right? You just need. Yeah. I don't want to worry about those guys, right?
Yeah, I think it's fair. And I guess the last position we hadn't talked about. Oh, I guess they're safeties. Safeties. No surprise. Tanner Engel, Khalid Martin backing him up, and then Jakeen Harris and Raheem Ashford backing him up. Again, young, junior, redshirt freshman, sophomore, and then Devin Boykin at strong safety as a freshman. There's a lot of youth on this defense, and that could be good or could be bad. I'm going to try to be optimistic and say the upside is there. At least, Engel and Harris played a lot. Again, I think Engel's really good. If he's got some help around him now, I think that's going to make him better. I feel surprisingly good about the secondary, given the uncertainty in the secondary.
Yeah, I guess aside from that Battle Dunlap pairing, I'm not concerned elsewhere. Engel, you know, you know what you've got. I guess what I think is going to be interesting is, man, I just get this feeling that Raheem Ashford by the end of the year is going to. I'm going to go on a limb. I feel like he might lead the team in interceptions because, like, watching his film, he just seems like one of those natural playmakers. I know it's highlights, so they're really good plays usually, but he just seemed to be around the ball, fumbles, interceptions. He was blocking punts in junior college, and he was considered. I can't remember what his ranking was in the JUCO. I think he was a first team all conference in a pretty stacked junior college conference. So I just think we really got lucky getting him in now. And the fact that he's already second team at safety tells me he could be a guy we're talking about in a year is just like a high five. Who knew?
Yeah, I think that's maybe the theme of this secondary is a lot of upside to it. If they pan out to a degree, I think everybody would be pretty happy there. Tony Gibson is, he's been confident in saying he's got no real concerns, right? He really likes his group. They're doing the right things. That's big praise from a guy who's been a secondary coach, and he's been, he was at West Virginia, and they had aggressive playmaking secondaries, and I think that's what we're all looking for because we haven't seen that in a long time. So
just hoping it doesn't burn us.
It's gonna burn you at some point, right? It's almost all it's gonna happen. Just don't let it happen all the time, right? Don't be a sieve.
Yeah,
and we'll be okay. And I guess the last position here is quarterback. Devin Leary, Bailey Hockman, Ben Finley. We talked about this last week because Doran told us who the starting quarterback was. No surprise there. I had a thought this weekend. I was watching the Florida State game.
Oh, God.
That Blackman beat out Hockman. Is that – I don't know if it was Blackman. It was actually might have been the other guy.
It was Blackman.
Wasn't there a guy before them?
There was. I'm trying to think of his name.
Grad transfer, the Notre Dame guy, right?
There was a Wisconsin guy that was there last year. And then, he transfer to Notre Dame?
No, there's Notre Dame quarterback came to Florida State, and then Blackman took his job, but Hockman was third on that depth chart. Anyway, my point was watching Florida State this weekend, Blackman looked not good. Like, not good.
But is Blackman really that bad? Or is
his offensive line looked terrible too. Yeah, so there's a bit of that.
And it's his third system in 3 years. Because Blackman was there the year we beat Florida State down there, right?
Yeah.
That was and let that game be a lesson to everybody. That Florida State team was number 2 in the nation, played Alabama, lost their starting quarterback, whoever it was. So he didn't beat out somebody. They got injured. I remember that. Then they got hit with that hurricane. And I think they missed like 2 or 3 games before they played us. And they looked so rusty and out of it. And I caution everybody again that we didn't have a super smooth offseason. We've already had the quarantine break of 8 practices or 8 days or whatever we missed. So I expect us to look pretty damn rusty out there, quite frankly. So my expectation is very low going into this game, and I hope Pack fans do the same because I think we are more likely to have a slow buildup and 3 or 4 weeks into the season look like a different team than whatever we see this weekend.
DeAndre Francois.
That's who it was. Oh, what a great name. Where did he end up?
I have no idea.
The audio was picking it up for those listening in the car at home. I was very hungry before this started, and I've been munching on popcorn the whole time. So
get together.
I'm just all out of it today. I got to put this in. DeAndre Francois.
The good thing about the quarterback position, and I think we kind of see that with the running backs and offensive line, we're going to run the ball a lot. I think we've talked about this already, but I think that this depth chart really sets up for them to just run the hell out of the ball.
Ooh,
which I'm okay with.
Not a good history.
Yeah, he wasn't very good. All right, I think that's it. That was a very long, quick podcast, but we've never been short-winded, so
it's true. I mean, you guys wanted to get the live experience of us reading the depth chart, so you got it.
We basically did. We'll be back later in the week with some thoughts on last weekend and this coming weekend and some other things we've got kicking around. But for Will and Josiah the Cheese Man, Provolone, thanks for listening. Go Pack.
Go Pack.
G'day, curd nerds. Another cheese-making taste test. This one, something special. This is a very old cheese. So this is...
Oh, my God.